Squelch, squelch, squelch the muddy sea. Hello and welcome to the Board Game Basement with me, AZ, Ghosty, and of course again, Ghosty's mate, who is the wonderful Alice. And we're here today to talk about the fabulous game that is Sleeping Gods by Red Raven. A lot of people have been asking me about this game constantly. I have had this game a while since it came out on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, my Tides of Ruin expansion was misplaced, so I couldn't play it. I know, it was tragic, wasn't it?
It was.
I moaned for a good while about that, but it was sorted out in the end, and I eventually got my full copy through, and we were able to play it. So, what is it, I hear you ask? You probably already know if you're interested in this game. It's an adventure-based game where you're sailing along on the Manticore ship, and you're exploring a wonderful world full of gods that are all sleeping. And we want to wake these sleeping gods, because if we don't, a huge, horrible thing might turn up and destroy us all. So it's imperative that we do that, and we do that by finding totems. So it's got you travelling around this paged map system, trying to explore different things that hopefully eventually lead you to different totems. And there's a lot of totems. We printed off a list, didn't we, of all the ones you could tick off. It has it in the game, actually, sort of a tick off sheet, but you want to copy that and use your own. And there's lots, so there obviously is a vast amount of things to explore to get these totems. It's a very interesting game. I think they've taken an idea based on exploration. You can see where the inspiration has come from if you've played games like Seventh Continent and things like that. They really wanted to expand on that kind of exploration and adventure and sort of that is what drives this game forward. But they went deeper with that, and they added their own mechanics to it and their own twist, which I think is great, because you don't want to be samey, and they're definitely not. First of all, when I saw the box, probably the best box art I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I was so impressed with it.
The embroidering they've done on the box is magnificent, absolutely magnificent. I'm not sure if the retail version has the embroidering on. I think it's only the Kickstarter.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so. But it's brilliant.
It's beautiful.
It stands
and the
out
gold.
so well.
Oh.
We were really impressed.
Yeah.
We like the art. I think the art style works well for the game. It's not supposed to be a graphic horrible game, but all at the same time, it's not supposed to be a la-di-da game. So I think the art suits that very well, doesn't it? It does suit that. And they've kept the theme and style of art throughout everything in the game, which is nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit different inside, but I don't think you could do it to that sort of level all the way through, could you?
No. But I mean, the style that they've drawn things at is similar. Presentation of the box, as soon as you open the box, it's a wow. They've got little compartments for things to go in when you're playing the game. A really nice box to keep the adventure cards and quest cards that you get together. It's really smart. It's really smart. You can see that they've put a lot of thought into that. Let's make this look nice. And we at the base, we always say it always impresses me when I open a box and feel good about what I'm looking at. That, and it's so important. It really is. And I understand for some games it's harder than others because they have a lot of stuff to try and compress into what could look good. But if you can get that right, you're off to a good start.
Not overwhelming.
You're not overwhelmed. Yeah. The rule book is straightforward. It's got a how to. The first section of the adventure is done as a sort of a how to play. I read the rule book before. In fact, we watched good old Roy, didn't we? Actually, he helped us learn how to play as well, and that's really good. I would say anyone watch the how to play or watch it played. Sorry.
He's so good at explaining things.
Yeah, and this
really
is a game that can be explained like that. You can sit and just learn it. You still have to play that opening adventure, but it's not a problem. It's only a few pages, and it's just talking you through what you would have heard or read, and it shows you how to play the game. So you play the game over. You've got a crew, and you can play this game as a single person. You can play it up to what's the player count? 4 by splitting the crew amongst 4 people, and then each of you will have a set number of things that you can do. So
it says between 2 and 4.
Yeah, between 2 and 4.
I thought it said single person.
No, you
I
can
was
do it
like,
anywhere. Yeah, it should say
Two.
1. It's a mistake on the box.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
There's a mistake on the box where it should say 1 to 4, but it says 2 to 4.
Okay.
But they've changed that now.
Okay.
If you buy the retail one, it does say 1 to 4. Where was I?
Sorry.
Playing the
Throwing
game.
you off.
Playing the game. So you're on the ship, the Manticore. There's not a whole lot of explanation about why you're actually there. It's very brief. You've got a crew and you've turned up on this strange sea in this strange land, and you, for some reason, know what you're doing. Because you've been captured by these Minotaur people, and the first person you bumped into sort of explains everything to you in the sense of we need to find these totems and stuff like that. And so yeah, you play through the game from there, and it's a sandbox style adventure where you just sort of let go and you just do whatever you want to do and go wherever you want to go. So the first thing you will do is you'll do a ship action. So you've got the ship, the Manticore. There's a little template ship thing. You'll take an action, and that action will give you cards to use, which can be equipped to your characters. They can also be spent to help you with challenges that you do. You'll also earn little cubes that you can spend to do things with. Everything costs these little cubes that you can acquire. One thing that we found straight away is the game really does throw a lot at you. It doesn't build up to a sort of steady pace and then gets harder. It really doesn't. It chucks everything at you.
You're in the deep end, aren't you?
You're in the deep end straight away. So it's got a good survival factor to it. Mm-hmm. And so those ship actions that you take are really important because they'll also do other things such as heal crew members, let them rest, find food and things like that. So, and you can't take the same ship action twice. So if there's more of you, or if you're playing by yourself, you'd have to move the ship action to something else. You can go back to that afterwards, but you can't do it as a repeated thing.
You've got to plan it well, haven't you?
You've got to plan it well.
To.
It's a resource management element to the game, as if you're trying to manage the resources on the ship and keep everyone alive and rested. You then can take an action, and that is to explore, go to the port, to repair your ship, to go to an inn, to buy things from the shop. But predominantly you're going around just exploring various points on the map. There'll be a number on the map, you go to the book, you flick through the book, and you see what happens. And then you go from there. And you sail on by.
You sail on. Well, you try to. You try to move more than one.
There is a little bit more to it. You are drawing cards in the middle of that cause events. And how this game sort of is timed, it's got a timed element to it. You've got a deck of events that happen, that they gradually increase in severity. You go through that deck, then something will happen, you build another deck up, you go through that deck, something else will happen, and then you go through another deck, and I think at the end of that, that'll be that. The gods wake up, have you found enough totems, X, Y, Z. Which is nice because you've got that you've got that pressure building up, which isn't there at the start. You're not quite sure what all that means. But as it slowly develops, that pressure builds up and you think, oh, we need to find totems and I need to get doing this. So it's got that push element to it, which is nice because I think you do need a sort of a nudge. Otherwise, you could easily just sort of float around. You could, though, couldn't you?
Just
you
exploring.
You could explore. you could sort of like, not break the game, but yeah, you could easily win the game because there's nothing to sort of keep you on that path of we need to do this and we need to do this now.
Yeah.
You come up against challenges all the time. There's a challenge for everything.
All the time.
And your crew isn't very good at the start. They're not very good at all. Which is why equipping cards that you get from your ship action is important because they will help them become more perceptive, become more stronger, more cunning. Yeah, exactly. They'll boost these, but only by very small amount.
We were close to death for a few times, weren't we?
Many all the time. If we weren't falling asleep, we were nearly dead. There's no rest on this ship at all. Once you've when you've done an action with a person, they get a sort of a token, fatigue it's called, so they're getting tired. As soon as they have 2 fatigue, they can no longer take any more. They can only take part in any more actions. So you are having to manage this crew because they get tired so quickly, and you can have more than one person join in to do a task, but both of them get tired.
So you can quickly see how you'll be struggling, considering you're exploring all of the time.
Do you think that's a good amount to have? Because you only really get 2 goes per character, don't you?
I think when you learn the management of it, I think that it's a strategy. It's a strategy
it is,
part
yeah.
of the game where you're weighing up in the end, is this task worth the effort we're putting into it, and can we recuperate that enough? And we were kind of doing it in a way where we were going to the ports to try and rest as much as we could with the gold that we found, and sort of sacrificing being able to buy better equipment to rest people.
Because we needed it.
Yeah, because we needed it.
It's so many people that were injured at one point.
Yeah.
But do you think saying having 1 more turn per character would have made a massive difference, or do you think that would have been too much?
I think it could have made it easier. It would have made it easier.
Yeah.
But
whether that'd be good or not.
Yeah, whether that would be good or not. One thing I really like about the game, or I like about how they design the game, is they give you a number of options of how you want to play. Thumbs up, because everybody would likes a slightly different experience, especially with these sort of games. It's not a competition. You're working together, so it's important to gauge the group you're with. Do we want a big challenge where inevitably we're going to fail and all giggle about it, or do we actually want to get somewhere in the end and feel like we've achieved something? That's really important. And this does give you scope for that. It does give you how to make the game easier, how to make the game harder. It's got different modes to it in terms of, do you want a continuous journey, in which case if too many crew members die or the ship gets destroyed, you'll appear at a port repaired and replenished, and then you carry on? Or do you want it kaput? If the ship gets destroyed, you sink.
You're done.
If everybody dies, there's no one to pilot the ship. We're done. So it offers that scope, which I like. I think that's really good. And one of the mechanics of the game is, when you're doing challenges, the same deck that you draw cards from to get things to equip to your characters also has numbers at the top, and those numbers add to the challenges that you're going to do, and it gives you the option to change that and use dice instead. We use dice. I like dice, and and it's that risk reward thing, because if you use the card system, you can manipulate that. You can take away all the low numbers and attach them to crew members, so that you're left with high numbers in that deck. So when you're drawing them, you're going to get high numbers. So it's whether you like that manipulation. I prefer just rolling the dice and seeing what happens. I find it easier, and I liked that play. It didn't
more luck then, isn't it?
It didn't bog down for me what was going on, and there is actually a lot going on in this game. It's quite hard until you play it, I would say, to try and get that across. But there's a lot going on, because you find cards that you can spend your cubes on, and they could be, to make pancakes, or to,
biscuits
stew.
and gravy.
You find a dog, that can help you look for stuff. All sorts of things. But there is so many of these cards that you are looking all the way across all the time.
Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I doing?
I think we had this part of the table full up of cards, didn't we, at one point? There was a lot to check.
So not having to worry about manipulating a deck and just being able to roll dice just sort of took away a bit of admin for me, I think, and I was able just to enjoy that a bit more. I would have liked to have seen some sort of diary in this game. Seventh Continent had a really good satchel that you put those special cards in, and you can flick through it in the end, and you got a lot of cards from that, but you had everything organised in a sort of little flick book. If this had that for things that you could do, that would be really good. The only downside is you put cubes on those cards, or a cube, or however many it needs.
Yeah.
And then that tells you you've used that card. You can't use it again until you take a ship action to take some cubes off. So that would have been difficult to do with a satchel. You wouldn't have been able to do that.
It's the folder thing, like the folders that you used to get and put your Pokemon cards in with those sheets with one of those.
It was like a smaller version of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
it was only about this big, like a diary. It looked like a diary, but it looked really smart. It was really smart because it has like a big number 7 on it and all sorts. It was really cool. But it was organised, and it kept those important cards together, and you could easily flick through them and see the front and back of that card. And like with this, because you have so many, and you've got your crew all over the table, you've got the map, which is probably the smallest thing in the game when it's put, and your little ship on it. There's a lot of stuff going on. So organising things can get a bit cumbersome. And if there's 4 people around the table, it would take up a lot of space. You would be struggling to find, and looking at all those cards, if you were the back person, could be quite difficult. But it is a joint effort game, so I suppose everyone would pitch in. The combat system in the game is unique. I've never played anything like that before. So you've got a huge combat deck, which is just numbered, and it'll say, you come up against whatever it is, and it'll have a number next to it. You draw that number card, and it's got a picture of whatever you're fighting, and then a grid system on it where you attack, and whatever damage you do, you're placing hearts on this grid system to fill out the hearts on the grid, and once you've done that, you defeat the monster. You can only expand on hearts from the point that you place the heart on and go up or down. You can go across to another card that's next to it if you want. It's quite a strange system, isn't it?
Honestly, it spun my head when you first explained it to me. I was like,
I think it's a niche. I think a lot of people will like it. I really do. I think there's people who play board games who like that kind of thing, and I can see why they did it. And I think it would work. It works. There's not a problem with the game at all, but it is very, I would say, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
You either think this is good,
bit Marmite, love it or hate it.
Yeah, or you think I'm not quite sure. For me, I think thematically it didn't tickle my pickle.
I love that saying.
I was enjoying what we were doing, and then we were fighting something, and then I'm playing chess on a little on the table.
Noughts and crosses or Connect 4. That's what it felt like.
But you can't go diagonally, so
no, unless you had your thingy.
Yeah.
Token.
Synergies.
Yeah.
So the system that they've used, I think, it's worth. I would never say this game isn't worth playing for that. No way. I'm not. This is me being uber critical of a good game.
Yeah, if you had to say one thing.
This is me being uber critical, and this is my opinion on it. I'm not. If you played it, you could think it was really good. But for me, I like my battles battly. And it didn't really feel like a battle. Oh, I mean, they hurt me.
We came away wounded.
Me. Like, don't get that. We were so injured by every fight, barely making it, which was exhilarating. But
Pumas, was it?
Yeah, pumas, just mauled us.
Pumas.
And you have to be very careful in the game. The game doesn't scale in terms of when you start. Everything's rainbows and sunshine. You're supposed to check the level of the enemy that you're facing and think, can I do this? Because if not, we cannot fight it.
We've got to peg it.
We've got to peg it. Which you kind of don't realise at first as much until you get maimed and think, oh,
why do we do this?
Why did we do this? I think the choices that you make as well they're not so random that you think I'll choose this path and then something obscene happens and you think, what was it? If I have no input into the choice I make, is that choice pointless? And I hope that made sense. It made sense in my head. But what I'm trying to say is when you are making a decision, you kind of want a informed decision about what you're doing. So you're given the scenario. Let's say we had one where we found there was a man who was tied to a rock. And we had the choice to ignore him and go look for some stuff, or to try and untie him. And we untied him, didn't we?
Yeah, it was such a hard decision.
And you're thinking to yourself, will this man attack us if we?
Yeah.
Why is he tied there?
Is he gonna come
You
back?
go through all these things in your head, but everything makes sense. Whatever happens, you think you can accept it. It's not outlandishly wild where something crazy happens and you think, what was the point in that choice? So they've thought about those options that you get, which is nice, because there's nothing more annoying than blindly going into stuff.
I just want to know what the other option would have done, like what would have happened.
That's part of the game.
I know, but you never look. I was like, can you have a look, see what the
No,
other option
you're not
is?
supposed to look. She's a cheater. Don't play that.
I'm not a cheater. I just wonder. I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if we'd gone in the cave instead.
I know. But it is funny. you can have a good laugh with it. We did. There was a moment where I was so if you're playing multiplayer, it says you give that person whose go it is the choice, and you don't really have an input in their choice. You just let them make it. And we sailed up to this island. Bear in mind, one of our cards was to go to an island and save these villagers from the rat.
I didn't know that though. I forgot.
And we sailed to this island, and I was reading the book, and I said, we found some village being attacked by rat people. Do we want to go? And they're setting the village on fire. Do we want to go into the village and help them, or do we want to sit on the ship and watch? I was like, we'll just sit on the ship and watch. And I was like,
now, can we just say, the reason why I did that is because usually in games, and I've said this before when we've done reviews, I'm always doing what I would do in real life, but like I want to help somebody, I'd want to do the nice thing, and I'd want to be honest, I'd want to do that. And it always bites me in my bum, always. So I thought, I'm not going to do it this time.
I'm going to watch him burn.
I'm going to watch him burn.
And then, she wondered why they all died.
You let me change that one, didn't you?
No, I did, because
I forgot about
you didn't know
the
that was our actual quest, but it was funny. So it has good moments in the game. A lot of stuff comes up quite quickly as well, interesting things to do with your crew. One thing I really like about the game is all of your crew are involved in the story. So when you're reading stuff like one crew member who you've got to be talking to another crew member, and they'll be arguing, or they'll be, and it really does bring that crew to life, which is nice. Those extra mile bits that you go to make things more in depth are really important, especially in games, and that was nice, wasn't it? We always enjoyed it because it was kind of, you can see it happening in your head.
We did rename a couple that look like people that we know, but that's it.
It'd be good if you could name your crew, but I suppose, obviously,
then it wouldn't go
with the story, would it? Which was, But we enjoyed it. But we, like I said, there was a few bits that probably weren't for me, but it by no means was a bad game, by any stretch.
I think, because I didn't know what to expect, I think it took me a little bit to get my head round, because I wasn't sure whether it was going to be a completely mythical sort of magical game, or whether it was going to be quite,
It's a little bit of both. It's a bit in between both, isn't it?
And I think
theme-wise,
I've never really played something like that, so that was
which was interesting. And I think this is quite a technical adventure game. It's not complex, but it is compared to other ones that do the same thing. I'm talking about Tainted Grail, I'm talking about Seventh Continent. They're quite simple compared to this. Not by a whole lot, but there is more strategy in this. There's more management resource things. So if you like those sort of games, then I think, and you want to test the waters in terms of adventure, this would be perfect, because you'd probably really like it. Rather than just going along, talking to people, having battles and things like that. If you wanted something that was a bit more resource based, this would probably be right up their street for sure. What was the other thing I wanted to say about this game? My gripe. This is a gripe, Raven. Red Raven. So this game comes with, or can be purchased with, an expansion, Tides of Ruin, and also a Dungeons expansion. Only one of those is a real expansion. The Dungeons are an expansion because they add to the game. This is part of that game that they've snipped off the top. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's your pet peeve, that is, isn't it?
It's my pet peeve, yeah. Absolute pet peeve. I know why they do it, but an expansion needs to add something to an already existing game.
It's expanding on it.
Yes, it doesn't mean the missing piece of that game.
Yeah.
That is a completely different thing. And this is the missing piece of that game. You don't need it to play, but you can't sail there, in essence, is what they say. Which for me, that's not an expansion. That should have been part of that game, and shouldn't have been, or better worked in a way that this was a next bit of what happened next, or what happened before, something like that. That would have been an expansion. But to snip a bit off the top and then say this is an expansion was a bit lame, to be honest.
I didn't like that.
No, and it stopped me from having a go at the game initially because I needed to wait for this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I needed to wait for this because it was actually what if I wanted to sail up? You know, what if I did?
Yeah. One thing that I did really like, and you laughed at when I said this, the components are wooden and cardboard. That's
And
amazing.
I haven't seen many wooden or cardboard components, unfortunately. So
I know I've seen a lot of plastic,
yeah,
and I was like, yes.
they're quite common, you know.
Are
It's
they?
because we don't play a lot of Euro games.
Okay, well I really
If
like
we
them.
did, you'd be inundated with them.
Honestly.
Absolutely
Good for
inundated.
the environment, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's better than having little
It's a
plastic pieces.
resource management's dream.
Yeah.
The wooden tokens are.
And little cardboard
Yeah. If we
ones. I
played
really
more,
like that.
if we played more sort of Euro games, then
Is it quite a common thing in Euro games?
yeah, yeah. Wooden tokens.
I know it's
absolutely.
difficult if you've got like little models though. You can't exactly make those out of
No, but,
wood very easily, can you?
when you're using tokens to represent stuff or you know,
Yeah.
like whatever it might be, they use the wooden ones. It's quite common.
Yeah. Okay.
It is
Well, I
quite
like
common
it.
to have a lot of wooden tokens. So yes, so I think it's was it worth the wait? I would say it is. I would say it's a very well thought about game. They've put a lot of effort into it, and that's clear. They've really wanted to capture something and put that out there, and they have done. You know, I don't think anything touches this in terms of comparative wise, close comparative. It just doesn't. They've taken something and they've gone away with their own dream, and they've come out with this, and that's a big thumbs up for them. They've thought about a lot of important things in the game, and I think, you know, they went down the avenues that they want to go down to suit what they wanted to achieve, and they didn't try and please everybody, which is good, because you can't do that. And so sometimes games fall over and falter because they try and do that, and really, you know, you want to play a game you want to play. And so I think by having that design, the resource management style, with the way that the battle cards work, it fits together. You've not got too many things pushed together that don't make sense, and you're gonna, you know, one style of gamer would like this bit and the other style of game would like this bit. I think this is a holistic game, and someone who really loved it would really love it. I genuinely think that, and it's only the little niggly bits for me that just sort of stop me saying that it's the perfect game for me. Because
it was a
for
good
me,
game.
it isn't the perfect game for me. But
But
that's
it
me
is
being
for a lot of
hypercritical.
people.
That's me
But
just
it
being
is,
hypercritical. This game still gets a ghosty white from the basement. It's a brilliant game, absolutely is. So I would suggest anyone to get the game and have a go, or if someone's got a copy, please join in, because if we can get more things like this, different themes, different sort of styles of doing it, I think that's great. I really do. And I think it's worth a 2 thumbs up from me for Sleeping Gods. So thank you very much, Red Raven.
So pretty.
Ghosty White from us, and a proud place on the shelf for future adventures. We need more sea stuff. Wow, we do.
Well,
We do, don't we?
we do.
I think there's some more sea stuff. We'll be inundated with sea stuff now.
And then that's it. Like Liz, I do really like it though.
Yeah. So we apologise. It took so long to get and come to this point, but it was just because we were waiting for all these things to sort themselves out. But we're happy we got to have a go, and we're happy to promote it, and also tell you to have a go for sure. We're going to have lots more stuff coming as usual. Please send your messages to us. I know.
We do try and get back to you
we
as
do,
quickly
we
as
do.
possible,
We
honestly.
do. But we've been enjoying it. So stay tuned and stay locked. Keep safe, everybody, and enjoy the games with the people you love. Now we can get back together. Get everybody involved. I want to see everything back to normal again. People hiding in their sheds, their basements, and their conservatories, whatever it is, hide away and play these games, because your life depends on it. Find those totems.
Yeah.
Unlock the Sleeping God.
But don't let the rat people die.
Don't let them die. Don't let them burn. It's not good. Not good for the environment either. So from me and Alice and Ghosty, goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Bye.